This place is a boxing ring, a concrete ring without ropes, with no referee and no rules. This place makes you tough, but never tough enough for its jabs, crosses, and low blows. In this concrete ring, disguised as a city where dreams are made, you are the prey, while those who've lingered in the buildings long enough and who walk the walk and speak the language scavenge at your arrival and use your oblivion for their own good. This place is unfamiliar and it is filled with wonders that never cease to amaze. It is loud without speaking, and it demands to be heard. Disguised as a city where dreams are manifested, it screams, "Welcome to our Johannesburg."
I rehearse my answers to questions and run them like poetry lines in my head. I play out possible scenarios in my head. I bite a nail or two, swallow anxiety, and it births butterflies in my stomach, which makes me think of horrific outcomes for the interview ahead. I hug my backpack around my chest and walk in the Johannesburg Central Business District in search of the station that harbors the taxis to Auckland Park. I hurry because everyone hurries. I mimic how they cross the busy streets, and I do not flinch when I'm bumped into or shoved around like a loose pole standing in the way. I'm an alien in this place, and my alienation oozes from my pores and is written on my face. I look around me and I'm engulfed by large buildings, some steady, many dilapidated, and most hanging on for survival. My mind races faster than my eyes and my feet, but like the buildings that surround me, I hang on for dear life while my inner voice convinces me that I'm only getting closer to rubbing shoulders with my dreams.
My name's Alex Halligey, and I'm a research fellow at the Johannesburg Institute for Advanced Study at the University of Johannesburg, which is an interdisciplinary think tank research institute. And when I say interdisciplinary, it works with different academic disciplines, but it also works with people outside of the academy, journalists, artists, creatives of all sorts. So it's a really lovely space to be in. But I'm also a theatre maker, and I use theatre as a research tool, and I use theatre as a lens for understanding city spaces. So this particular project, which is called a little bit clumsily the Joburg Literary Site-Specific Theatre Project, is all about thinking about how we can use creative writing to express what we're experiencing in our city, how we can take that creative writing and stage it as a theatre performance in public spaces in the city, and how that furthers the dialogue with the city that the creative writing starts, and how just the process of making draws out cast, production team, documentary teams, experiences of the city, and then how staging it in that public space in the city draws in audiences, and they can also start to reflect on what they see in the performance, that they know of their experience of the city, what they disagree with, what they agree with. So bringing us to a kind of self-aware state of going like, yeah, well, this is what our city is, and what do we think about that? What do we feel about it? So that's the broad scope of the project. On a practical nuts and bolts level, it involved a writing competition in October 2022, which finished in December, closed in December. And we selected 3 winning texts, short-form pieces of writing on Joburg by writers who were entirely unpublished before. And then Jade Bowers, the very amazing resident theatre maker at UJ Arts and Culture, she has set about devising a piece of theatre inspired by these 3 texts. So she's worked with 3 very wonderful, illustrious professional performers, theatre makers, music makers. We've got Lebo Mashile, Tina Redman, and Jürgen Sullivan. And they've worked together with students from UJ who are part of a poetry collective and an arts academy collective. So drama is not what they're studying, but it's what they're pursuing extramurally at UJ.
Yeah, so we need to finish the play,
which is the Joburg specific game that we need to figure out. And then we need to add the people who haven't been here into the other things that we've done. Yeah. So like particularly the river story that we did yesterday, and the chorusy thing. Mafalda, the start of Mafalda.
So a site-specific work is created for and by the space. So the idea is that it wouldn't be able to be staged anywhere else. Particularly for this piece, we were actually going to do the performance first at just outside the Doornfontein campus of UJ. And we were there, we were looking at the spaces, and we came up around a lot of like logistical problems around security and power and all of those types of things. And then we went to go look at another site outside the Wendy Brow Theatre, because we have a great working relationship with Jared, who runs the Wendy Brow Theatre. I'm using this as an example, because when we got there were all of these children, right? Because they come to the Wendy Brow Art Centre for drama classes, drumming, poetry, all of those types of performing arts. So there was just like this mound of children everywhere, playing games, playing soccer, talking nonsense. And so using that site, it became very important for the piece to be for children.
So the one day, Bonga and Jade brought their kids to rehearsal. And we were trying to work out, we had come up with in one of the brainstorming sessions that we wanted to deal with sex work because it's such a pervasive theme, especially in Hillbrow, Joburg, how are we going to do this with kids? And then we were like, okay, the lady, so it sells the moon. But then, like, when we had the kids in rehearsal, we workshopped the story, and we had to figure out how we were going to make it work. So it wouldn't be fair if we did not mention the fact that children were an essential part of the creation of that story in particular. We had to figure out how to make the metaphor translate. We had to figure out how to make it like understandable, digestible, and entertaining for them. And they were the ones. Without them, we would have never figured out the rocket ship and the moon rocks.
Yeah, they were like, how are you getting to the moon and getting the moon rocks? You have to get into a rocket.
Yes.
Yeah, we need the story.
We need the story.
Okay.
Right? We got to finish this story today. That's our job. That's our mission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because you are pretending to be the kids who are going to actually be at the Wendy Brow when we do the story. And maybe you guys, your dad will bring you to come and watch, so you'll also be a part of the kids.
Because it's good that we're here, because we can help them make sure that the story that they're making, it's easier for the children to understand.
Absolutely. So now we worked on the very beginning, and then now let's do.
It's like, I like this girl.
Okay, what does your rocket ship look like? How does it travel?
My rocket ship is shaped as a star, and then at the bottom of the star there's fire that shoots it up to the star. And then so this was like the one.
So you have to get to the moon.
My rocket power is strong engine, stronger than 7
4, 3, 2, 1.
Have enough fuel to come back. So what I think they mine some of the rocks, and then they can like turn it into fuel to go back.
Okay, do it. Mine those rocks.
Yeah.
If I had a video of mine, so then
And then you land and sleep.
Yeah, land and sleep.
Land and sleep. That's a great idea.
The plan at the beginning was very loose. I tried not to put too much on before we get into the room. I think if you hold on to something too tight, especially before the project has started, you lose the possibilities. So the idea for me at the beginning was to get as many people in the room as possible and find out what are the stories. What are the perceptions of Joburg? What are the stories? What are the small microcosm of stories that we can play with? And so it was a lot of talking, a lot of finding out what people thought about Joburg. What are the different types of people in Joburg? Who are the people in Joburg? What are the stories? And that's where we started. We just started with these little stories. We started with the writings to kind of give the context of Johannesburg. We did a lot of free writing, we did a lot of chatting, songs, games. We started playing children's games and seeing what we remembered from growing up, what was similar and different to people who grew up in Joburg compared to people who grew up somewhere else and then moved to Joburg. Transition, so trying to find I think more than stories, like a groove. A lot of what came up was like, there's always a hustle, there's always a groove, there's always a rhythm in Joburg, no matter what. Even if you are like on your wits' end trying to get something, there's still a groove. There's always a groove, and that groove changes constantly. And so that's kind of where we started with the music as well, that everything needed to be groovy. Everything was a dance, everything was a rhythm.
Do you know how she gets to the beat? She takes a beat. And she puts her seatbelt. And she presses a button. And
what about a sauce?
What is this? Oh, you teach me something new. What is this? One, yeah. Okay, let's see what that looks like.
Major. Right, this is a minor.
Sa, 3, 2,
This is a sauce.
and then so it isn't being like a half chord where you play less of the notes. So there is a half chord, and then one.
I thought we were going to do this, then I thought we were going to go.
So she
So I feel like
lands.
I want to build up to that.
You want to build up to this beat?
Yes.
So is that the beat for when she's selling again?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, hey baby, you know?
Yeah.
So then up till there, I want to build it up.
It's that song. It's and school fees,
Yeah.
and vegetables, and blankets, and baby's pills, and funerals, and black tags, and rent, and police bills.
So the process is, or has been, very organic. We started with the writing pieces that came in, and we acted some of those out with the students, some with Lebo and Tina, and we played with chorus work, we started with putting like the poem on stage. Well, I mean, there's no stage, but on stage, on the floor. And then we put some of the other writing on the floor, and we saw what grew from that. So that led to like new ideas. It's difficult for me to go, oh, that moment, because the process has been so organic. And I think it's so beautiful, and it's one of the things that I've always loved about theater and process theater.
Joburg takes our money. Woo! It's not So when we get exactly where we got to, what you did, you're gonna do again. You're gonna do it wrong.
She didn't right. She didn't right. She did. Just say
Somewhere here, it's gonna die. Okay, yeah. Then you know, like, no.
When she says almost, you say homo instead of somebody else.
Yeah. However,
She's
break it
getting
out.
it. She's getting it.
Then the two of you, exactly what happened.
Okay.
Then Tina's gonna be like,
Let's just play. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mama is late.
had this inspiration. And then I was like, no, this project, I've got to try to make it happen. So when I first had the idea, I was at Wits. I had now moved to UJ, and I started speaking to UJ Arts and Culture. We collaborated on another artistic project, a kind of simpler, more contained one, and they were interested in the idea. So the project was great in my mind, but of course now there was money that had to be, found to realize it and support. And it was really wonderful being at UJ to find such a supportive home both in JIAS academically and then in UJ Arts and Culture in terms of artistic production support. So when my PhD, I'd done all the production myself and had very generous funding from the Oppenheimer Memorial Trust. I was now really grateful to have a kind of in-kind support through UJ Arts and Culture, and UJ Arts and Culture managed to find a little bit of a budget for us to make the productions. I was like, yes, great. In the meantime, I'd been speaking to colleagues in Sweden and wanted the project to somehow be less just me doing the research and for it to broaden out a little bit to include other researchers. And connected with a colleague put me in touch with someone at Malmö University, Anders Høg Hansen, and he thought the project was a great idea and he was keen to get involved, so we started to talk about how we could think about the research aspect. So the artistic side I was working on with UJ Arts and Culture. Jade was going to direct the piece. Peter Jacobs, Legan Morgan Bijkies, oh no, not Legan just yet, Legan's only recently come back, but Karabam, Charlie and I, we were all talking about how to craft this writing competition, kind of get the project going. So that was all on track artistically. But now the research component. So Anders from Malmö University and I started talking, and we applied for some funding through his university to bring some of his students out and him out to participate in the project.
So yeah, most of the drama students are from my class. So maybe that just helps for context. But how have you found this process maybe different to class, maybe building on class, trying to fit it into your schedules because it's not our normal schedule times. It's been a lot, right? So maybe you could just expand on that.
The experience is different because last year when we were doing showcase, we were doing like monologues, and this time around we're working together. So it's kind of different and it's fun. I'm finding the experience very fun. Yeah.
Whether I'm tired or not, like I'm just ready for this because it's something that is new, right? And it helps me to grow and to learn how to work with other people and communicate with my body and with my words and everything. So it's been really fun. It's been nice.
Yeah, it's amazing because of like wanting to play in a play or acting different personalities or characters, and right now I'm doing that. It's fun, stressful at the same time because I am racing with time because of load shedding. I have assignments. When I get home, there's no electricity. I am tired. But it's great. When you come here, you meet wonderful personalities, friends, our teacher Jade. Well, it's amazing. It's really amazing.
Do you feel that in the process you have been prompted to do these emotions, or is it kind of, it came naturally once you knew what this game was about, what this play was about?
It mostly comes naturally because we are working with Johannesburg, and for someone who have that experience around Joburg, I think some emotions will come naturally. But at some point you have to look at the setting around you. How is this person feeling about this prompt? And you kind of adjust to that, but mostly I'll say it comes naturally.
Well, I mean, the way I heard about this project, there was an email floating around in my department from Alex in South Africa, which I had never heard of. And the content was very interesting in terms of creating using various art forms in the street to engage publics and to tell stories and so on. And I had been, in the past, been working with various forms of art and social change related projects, and how art as processes in the street, engaging with publics, publics intervening in arts projects as a part of the idea of the art and so on. So I thought this sounds very intriguing, and we have this program where we want to do events around the world, and we want to connect to specific cities and learn about the problems, the issues, the joys of specific cities around the world. And here's a project that engages art as communication in an exciting city. And why not try to write to her and see if I can make her interested in making an international collaboration also. And I wrote to Alex, and the rest is history. So.
To start from where we were, like the way that we deconstructed the texts, deconstructed our own experiences of Joburg to where we are now, it's like, I wouldn't have been able to imagine 3 weeks ago that this is where we would end up. And the level of performance that you guys are giving, you know, even as students, it's beautiful. It's funny, you know, it's precise, it's intelligent, like you're really special, and you've made this process. It's been wonderful. In and you and our babes.
I don't know how I feel about this process. It's been also a bit hectic because I've been all over the place, and I haven't had as much time as I would have liked to be here. But it's fun because it's really a high energy piece. Working with Tina and Lebu is also a blessing. They're always just offering stuff. It's like there's so many ideas happening at once. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I play this? Do I do that? Do I just watch and be like, okay, is that what's going to happen? You know, so it felt like it's been really fast. It feels like it's been such a fast process.
So most of my childhood, I was sitting with my mom because my mom sells in the streets of Johannesburg. So she didn't have money to pay for crash so that I go in there. So Monday to Saturday, I was in the streets, watching my mom sales, watching the Metropolis take her things. So yeah, so after the group gave me the opportunity to be the seller, so I related more because while I was growing up, I used to sell there at Newtown, on those flea market. I was there maneuvering. So ever since Joburg, I've seen Joburg as a place where you hustle. So I never saw the danger of it because I wasn't conscious enough. So I was moving everywhere. So that's how I relate to Josie.
Yeah, I mean, for me, initially, we had to workshop this, myself and Lebu and Jade and Yogan, and looking, like in hindsight, I don't think that we could have done this without all the students. It brings a different kind of energy. It actually, it just becomes a microcosm of what Johannesburg is. Yeah, and I feel supported by you guys, and like the play is what it is because you're here.
I think also for me as a professional artist working with students and working in a process like this, it's very unique. I've not participated in something like this where you have so many people working at different levels. But honestly, like when you work in the industry, you are actually working with people who are working at multiple levels all the time. There are some people who studied their craft. There are some people who didn't. There are some people who've been working for 30 years. There are some people who just started in the industry last year. So like the level of passion and commitment and the ability to learn, like the ability to be teachable, I think is what keeps you fresh and keeps you inspired and keeps you passionate, and that's what leads to the creation of beautiful work, you know? So I think what you guys have is something that there's professional artists that have lost this level of passion, you know, and level of commitment and level of just excitement about new work, you know. So I just hope that no matter what you pursue in your lives, that you remain passionate and connected to the arts in some way, you know, because that feeling is like, it's irreplaceable, and when you lose it, man, if you know that feeling and then you lose it, guys, depression yomhlaba.
So Lebo Mashile and Tina Redman, it's just been so wonderful that they've been able to be part of the production. So when we were talking about the production, Peter Jacobs, who's head of UJ Arts and Culture, said to me, well, I'd like our resident director, Jade Bowers, to direct it. I said, amazing. I could not think of anyone better. So, and Jade and I met for a chat, but I was like, you know, this is, you run with it. Your call, how you've got carte blanche, you know, creative carte blanche, certainly from my side, you know, your limitations are within your university ones. And then Jade, about a month before we were due to start the production, she said, well, I've spoken to Lebo Mashile and Tina Redman. At that point, I didn't know Tina, but I knew Lebo. I was like, what? You got Lebo? So I've known of Lebo Mashile's work for years, and I also, one of the pieces of writing was a poem, and also actually all of the pieces have a certain degree of spoken wordness to them. And I think Lebo was just such an incredible performer. Her heart and her intelligence and how she just communicates that with her whole body. I couldn't have thought of a better person to you know, tell stories about Joburg. And then meeting Tina, also just a phenomenal performer and the most wonderful, gentle, caring energy. So it's been just incredible having the two of them, and how much they've brought of themselves, and how much love and care they've held this notion of Joburg and telling stories of Joburg.
Again with magic, it's magical. I had an inkling that Lebo and Tina would be fire together, because they both have a particular rhythm about the way they perform, like in their bodies. They both have a very urban style, which is also great. So I had an inkling. But I have always been blessed with the best people to work with. Giving, offering constantly, always present. It's magic, bruh.
When you watch the performance, you know, they clearly are holding the container of the work and guiding the audience through it. But they've been doing that throughout, in the way they've been working with the students, in the way they've been co-creating the work with Jade. And I think it's very important, Jürgen's role as well is also, you know, you see Tina and Lebo, but Jürgen is holding the spine of the work just as much through the way he's crafting mood and rhythm with the music and giving those sounds of Joburg, which just really put you in the city.
Poets on stage. So time, man.
What about school holidays? You need to give it up.
question is, what was different from what you expected in performing? Or what happened in performing here on the street for everyone? Expected things and unexpected things.
For me, the big one was knowing that one scene didn't work. It made sense in the rehearsal room, it made sense in the flow of the story, but watching it with an audience, the energy of the play just dropped. So it was unexpected and it needed to be cut, and it was sore to cut it. But I think it worked much better once it was cut. Yeah.
It was much harder, like physically, in the space because we're in the sun, we're on an incline. So physically it was a lot more intense. In the studio, as you're building the work, we can stop and start, we can pause, we can breathe, we can work out sections. But here we had to like get the pace in our bodies and very fast. We also didn't really we had time to acclimatize, but not really, because from the first dress rehearsal we had an audience. I think the audience was also like a wonderful surprise. The fact that so many children turned out, the fact that we had children who were there from Wednesday, who watched every single performance. I think maybe the best thing that happened was yesterday when the kids came up to me and were like, how we also want to act, we also want to dance, and being able to like see the connection between a small person being exposed to something that inspires them and then wanting to use their own agency to take it further, you know. That was really, really, really exciting. And then also I think today just to realize like any small variable can change the space, you know. When we walked out to do our sound check right at the beginning, like when we did our mafalda set up, you know, to go and set and make sure that the space is fine before we perform, there were some guys out there drunk, you know, holding like bottles of whiskey, and they weren't even men. It was like 4 or 5 guys, but it was just like, oh God, like, are we gonna have to perform for this now? You know, so like, it makes so many people occupy this space. But I think what became very apparent is that when a space is dominated by children and created with children in mind, when it centers children and people are deliberate and intentional about that, the space automatically becomes safe. It weeds out a certain element, you know, which says a lot. Like if we make child-centric spaces, even if we are not parents or we don't have kids in our lives, but if the space is safe for children and women, it's going to be safe for everybody.
It made us fit. I didn't expect it to be like, upscaled. Yeah, so also the audience. I didn't think there'd be people looking at us from the balconies and the windows, because there was a point in performance when I looked up and there were people standing there by the balcony just watching us, so yeah.
What the space does is it challenges us to perform even better every day. I don't if these kinds of performances happen all the time around Johannesburg and there's no mics, I think that for me that was a big challenge, because I move around a lot and eventually I'm so scared that people might not hear what I have to say or might not follow the story because there was some, like my mic would just slip off from my face. But when I'd go back and I'd hear feedback, people followed the story. And that's because I guess we were all kind of engaged. We continued despite all the, I guess, technical glitches. As much as we are perfectionists, I think I can speak for all of us when I say it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It was.
And every single day it was fun. And there were the same faces that we saw kept hugging us at the end of, they wanted to dance and I mean, you don't experience things like that in theater. You don't get an audience who wants to so be involved and jump on stage with you and tell you that they want to act and they want to perform and they want to, you know. I think it was so amazing how inclusive the space was.
I wanted to say that there's always this misconception about Joburg and how dangerous it is. So it was nice to to be in a safe space with kids laughing, and for a short while it's not dangerous anymore. We're dancing, we're singing, we're having fun. And the one thing that I appreciated the most about this experience was everyone, like meeting everyone and interacting with everyone every single day, and also being reminded about my passion for what I love and why it's significant to keep that alive, how important that should be for me. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you guys for just being so hospitable while we've been here. It's kind of a hard thing for the creative process to roll when you got a bunch of people around you taking notes, buzzing around like flies. So thank you guys. And I think that it just was an incredible time. And I know that doesn't mean much for some dude that just flew in randomly, but thank you guys very much for everything.
I just want to say that sometime in the autumn some emails were circulating in my department in Malmö in Sweden, and there was not much response, but I started to read this email from Alex Halligey starting this project and so on, and looking for possible collaborators. And even though I was busy, I didn't have time for this, I kind of read it thoroughly, and I decided to start to write and click send, and then, well, I'm happy I did that. So happy. I mean, and started to try to find students, and finding these three fabulous students, and applying for some extra money. There was a good infrastructure here and so on, and doing this, making this connection internationally has been, great. So.
Awesome. Thank you guys, and it's been really special to just have the space to reflect.
I better see all of y'all on class.